as we're going through these shifts and changes, and as we have so many realtors in the industry, you really have to think of how you're going to set yourself different and apart, especially on these listing presentations, buyer presentations. How many of you have been having difficulty getting buyer's agreements signed? Difficulty explaining to the sellers why or why not they are paying buyer broker commission? It's a conversation where when you know your audience, you know your value, you know your story, you know your why, they're not going to argue with you. Just like I have a presentation up here today, I have one for sellers and I have one for buyers. And I will not go out with a buyer until I get on Zoom with them to explain my value, explain the process, and explain why we need these documents signed and why it's best interest to hire me to work with you as a buyer. Because I know my target audience, I know how to tell this story, I know how to do it, but I want you guys to be able to be comfortable with it too. And these questions are just great questions for yourselves just to even start as a foundation. Because if you don't have these items pointed out and as a foundation, guess what happens when you don't have a solid foundation on a house? Things start to crumble, things get rocky. And when you don't have that foundation, running the business might not feel as safe and secure. So you start with the foundation, brick by brick, you add these things to your business and you start to stand out. And then if something doesn't work, you take a step back, you assess, you reapply, and you reevaluate. Maybe your audience was this way this time around. Maybe you're going through a life change yourself and you're like, hey, I could share a different experience. These are things that you want to think about.